In our ever-expanding cities, higher population densities are making the management of water and sanitation ever more challenging. Despite global efforts to ensure the availability and sustainable management of water and sanitation for all by 2030, nearly half of the global population still lacks access to safely managed sanitation. With less than a decade to 2030, it's time for business unusual, a new approach to urban sanitation that promotes methods and innovations tailored to the specific realities of a given city. Citywide Inclusive Sanitation, or CWISE, is such an approach, one that considers technical solutions beyond conventional sanitation systems and works closely with all stakeholders to create an enabling environment for the entire service chain. Because of its comprehensive scope, CWISE requires an extraordinary level of investment to scale globally. One would think that the business of water and sanitation, essential to human life and part of everyday living, would be an easy sell. But sanitation is tied to people, place, and politics, thus posing a financial puzzle. The solution to sanitation is complex. Because most sanitation projects are geographically distributed, the sector is characterized by fragmented governance. Various government agencies often have mandates and responsibilities that overlap and are ambiguous. This hampers effective planning, coordination, and management. For an investment to work, there's a need to change or establish new institutions and implement new laws. To bring safely managed sanitation to underserved communities, we must address a household's ability or willingness to pay, making poor unit economics and the need for subsidization a reality of the sector.
In the sanitation sector, it's particularly relevant, right? The most knowledge about what the community needs and what investments will work well, most of that knowledge is local.
High operating expenses, coupled with the need for local partnerships and expertise, increase counterparty risks. When international financing is mobilized for sanitation, the investment is exposed to unfavorable moves in exchange rates. It is also vulnerable to macro risks such as political or civil unrest and changes in monetary policies. Given these characteristics of sanitation, long-term investments are needed, requiring higher-order intermediation.
I wanted to mention the potential for education and capacity development programs as a process through which project opportunities can kind of bubble up, right? Regional coordination, the creation of education and capacity development programs really can kind of bring projects to the fore. I think developing or supporting public counterparties is crucial. I also think screening for those challenges is something that an intermediary could kind of bring to the table, right? When there is a counterparty or when there's a serious issue with the counterparties, to bring those issues, identify bottlenecks, and bring those to the surface. The importance of local knowledge in this sector to allow that innovation at the local level and that flexibility, right? When we talk about innovation, we're really talking about flexibility with the standardization that's required from the investment community. That's what an intermediary does. That's what a middleman, that's the value created by a middleman. And so there's an opportunity for finding that appropriate balance.
Although sanitation projects have been largely financed with public sector investments, the public sector alone cannot fill the gap. Projections of global financing needs for water infrastructure range from $6.7 trillion by 2030 to $22.6 trillion by 2050. To make safely managed sanitation a reality for everyone everywhere, we need to explore various financial mechanisms. Blended finance is the strategic use of development finance to mobilize commercial capital towards projects that contribute to sustainable development. By having concessional funding absorb much of the risk, the project is more attractive to private investors who require lower risk and seek market rate returns. Blended finance is most effective where it's measurable and can maximize impact. It is measurable when used in early project development, institutional design, or to catalyze private capital directly. It is impactful when it addresses barriers to capital markets through transaction costs, risk allocation, technology risk, and credit enhancement.
There always has to be an eye towards not needing blended capital in the future, right? Becoming financially sustainable or economically sustainable and getting to that point. That's always part of the development process.
For decades, Official Development Assistance, or ODA, has been an important source of development financing, helping startup projects in sectors or areas that have been left behind. But in recent years, ODA disbursements to the water sector have become stagnant, remaining stable at $8.8 billion from 2015 to 2019. The global impact investment market, estimated to be at $715 billion, could help fill the gap.
Impact investing is an approach used by investors to harness the power of their investment capital to actively contribute to improvements in people's lives and the health of environment. The financial markets needs clarity on expected impact. Transparency around performance data will be very important. My personal idea is that outcome-oriented type of supports, such as result-based financing, development impact bond.
A development impact bond, or DIB, is a results-based financing instrument that involves the impact investor, who provides working capital for a social program, the implementing organization, who provides the service, the evaluator, who independently verifies results and provides an outcome report, and the outcomes funder, who repays the impact investor, but only if pre-agreed outcomes are achieved. This results-based approach motivates the impact investor and the implementing organization to work closely to achieve outcomes. Focusing on results also gives the implementer more room for innovation and local problem solving. The Cambodia Rural Sanitation DIB is the world's first development impact bond for the wash sector. To eradicate open defecation, the Outcomes Funder will make an outcome payment for each village in the program that achieves open defecation-free status. A little over a year into implementation, 500 villages have achieved open defecation-free status. Nearly 89,000 households have confirmed access to sanitation. And the Outcomes Funder has made more than $3 million in outcomes payments. The delivery of the components of public-private partnerships, or PPPs, are bundled in order to efficiently manage and assign risks between the public and private sectors. The benefits of PPP include on-time and within-budget project delivery. This partnership also introduces innovative and high-quality services from the private sector, with a bundling effect lowering coordination costs.
To increase the share of PPP, it is recommended to promote blended finance or utilize development institutions' concessional loans effectively in order to incentivize both public and private to mobilize PPP projects.
We've had incredibly good success in our public-private partnerships. For us, that's really around how do we think about buying down our risk as a private sector partner and establishing a more market-based supply chain, establishing a sustainable market approach. It's really around developing more of a sustainable way of doing things, less of this project way of doing things.
A significant element of fostering sustainability is capacity building, the training of stakeholders on the ground to do things right.
Masons, plumbers, local entrepreneurs, we're exploring multiple different business models. And how do we empower those last mile agents to really advocate for sanitation and hygiene, give them the tools to do that efficiently and reliably.
Sustainable and safely managed sanitation goes beyond installation. It extends to the proper operation and maintenance of facilities. And this is where local governments are called upon to promote awareness and education among communities.
We can't just install toilets in schools and institutions and in households and not advocate for their sustained maintenance. We need to partner with the public sector to think about how we as suppliers of more effective and affordable and aspirational toilet and hygiene solutions can get these products and access. But we have to solve that for the long term if we're going to get to the safely managed sanitation goal. I mean, there's unique capabilities the private sector brings in terms of the ability to move fast, bring innovation, think about supply chains, think about efficiency, and think about long-term sustainability. And there's an eagerness to partner.
Private enterprises have a lot to bring to the table. One of their most significant roles is delivering product solutions to the sanitation market. One such solution is a Japanese innovation, Jokaso, an on-site sewage treatment system.
Jokaso is completely different from septic tank, which treats only black water or toilet wastewater. Jokaso can treat all domestic wastewater such as from kitchen, toilets, baths, laundry, etc. Jokaso has both anaerobic and aerobic treatments, and it can decompose organic substances faster and better than septic tank.
While the Jokaso system may be too expensive for most households in developing countries, it could still serve other needs in the market.
That is the needs for commercial buildings. 1/3 of total discharge of wastewater in Jakarta comes from commercial buildings. So that is, I think, the common situation in developing countries. To improve the management of wastewater for these commercial buildings are very important.
While tides and currents nurture life, they are also capable of destruction, and the least developed countries have suffered the brunt of it. Sanitation plays an essential role in building climate adaptation and mitigation efforts. Flood and drought management make cities more resilient, while wastewater treatment and recycling help protect ecosystems and increase food security. In response to the escalating impacts of climate change, numerous multilateral environment funds can be mobilized for water and sanitation. And because climate change knows no borders, collaboration and cooperation between countries is essential. The puzzle of sanitation is undeniably complex, raising challenges not only in financing, but in political, social, and environmental areas as well. These scattered pieces of this puzzle need to come together in a comprehensive system. This is what Citywide inclusive sanitation hopes to be.
These issues in this sanitation sector, both on-site as well as connected, is difficult because it's multi-layered, and we have to do simultaneous problem solving in designing the best market structure or institution for each layer, and yet coordinate everything. We cannot jump to project, we cannot jump to technical assistance or finance without solving this set of equations.
Unraveling the complexities of sanitation creates both questions and answers. As 2030 looms, we must face them with an even greater sense of urgency. It's an uphill battle, but consider what mankind has achieved through innovation, open-mindedness, and collaboration. When we approach the problems of sanitation not from our little corner of the world, but as a united front, better ideas, systems, and solutions can truly flow.